moving straight on, thank you, Ilbert, for that overview of the barriers analysis. Now we have a short insight into, or a sneak preview into some of the work that we've done as BatteryPass consortium. As Caroline pointed out, as a quick reminder, we're an independent consortium coordinated by Systemiq with 11 partners in total, focusing specifically on the EU battery passport. Also importantly, the EU battery passport as per the battery regulation, and not other scopes. And we have been on it for about 2 years, looking into the various elements, trying to get a support system out, guidance from in terms of the content side as well as in terms of the technical side, how battery passports could actually be put into practice, considering that these are the first ones that will reach the market, as Michele pointed out earlier. And what have we done? For a quick overview of the work that we are doing, first, last year we published our so-called content guidance, where we analyzed and extracted the specific data long list, data attribute long list, what is actually required by the battery regulation. Also looked into helping set up CO2 accounting rules that would be applicable to this, and also made some recommendations on how that could be finalized in the battery regulation final steps. And then this year we have been focusing on the technical guidance and a demonstration project. So we have been proposing a technical standard stack for DPP overall, moving really one step further into how can we put this into practice, and have been mapping standards that would be relevant for the technical implementation. The demonstration, it encompasses both a software demonstrator, which will not be the battery passport. There's no commercial aim in this, but rather a demonstration that it actually works with the scope, technical scope and content scope that we have been finding from the battery regulation. And there's also a demonstrator built with Lego bricks to make this a bit more palpable, in person and during conferences, which we found is actually a very good way of bringing people to understand this more intuitively. And what I'm going to speak about today in the next couple of minutes is our value assessment. So we've been looking at, okay, what's the point in all of this, besides, of course, legal mandatory requirements for companies that will be affected. We obviously believe also that there is a value in actually being compliant and using this productively for companies. And so what we've been doing is developing a study which will be launched in the coming weeks at Hannover Messe, early April. And we looked at the various requirements, mandatory and then also voluntary potential additions is very important. Some of the use cases that we looked at, how battery passports could be applied in economic activities, really encompass or built on voluntary requirements that aren't explicitly mentioned in the regulation. Yeah, so as of today and as of the core requirements, these do not need to happen. Yeah, so that's an important thing to keep in mind when we look at the analysis. Looked both at the benefits and started sketching out the drawbacks. These we'll dive deeper into in ongoing analysis throughout the rest of the year, and did then a full sustainability assessment, economic, environmental, and social. So yeah, it's been a comprehensive process with several dozen expert interviews, 2 public consultations, and ultimately leading to a first scoping of what actual use cases end up being validated by industry by using the battery passport, and then secondly also what we can estimate preliminarily, of course, of the benefits in terms of how much materials could be saved, economic benefits be gained, CO2 saved, and so on. So looking at this year, we see along the value chain of a battery, or lifetime of a battery, from mining all the way through use to recycling. The application of battery passports, if you look at it in detail, you find that it really starts at the assembly and then carries throughout the life, as it's intended by the scope of the theory behind it, that we support the circular economy and productivity of products in use in the European Union. And we identified 12 use cases that can actually be described in detail, of which the core ones, the direct use cases that are actually can be read from the mandatory regulatory requirements, actually happen all throughout the lifetime and not so much upstream. And the ESG tracking, and Caroline mentioned it in the beginning, this is kind of additional to what the scope actually warrants. And just some preliminary insights on one of the use cases. We quantified 3. The others we described qualitatively in detail, like the leverage, so to speak, the mechanisms behind this. But some we tried to quantify, and obviously this resting on many assumptions. We built on state-of-the-art battery models, projecting the ramp-up of the market, battery duration, battery lifetime, external markets. Also in this case here, looking at second-life batteries, applying EV batteries into a stationary storage, in this case LFP batteries, because they are widely considered to be best suited for that case. We find that with all the assumptions through improved data on state of health and state of charge and overall life performance of batteries, there could be a decrease in technical testing costs when operators actually put these batteries into stationary use. And through that hypothesis, which we validated again with many industrials, you could create lower testing costs, higher degrees or higher rates of batteries actually becoming viable for second life, and thus actually displacing some primary batteries, enabling more stationary battery storage through second life batteries. But this just preliminary and a little teaser to what the report will actually contain also throughout the other quantifications that will come out soon. And so just a little heads up for where we're going with this, so you can keep your eyes peeled and look forward to the publication in a few weeks' time. We're currently finalizing that report as well as the technical passport system, and we'll launch these at Hannover Messe, 22nd to 24th of April, after which it's all going to be online on our website that you see there. And continue also with that value assessment in a second phase, where we look more at also the drawbacks and kind of look into a net effect. What other costs are actually to be incurred due to the system implementation, and also what are systemic effects to this. So overall effects into product information provision, for example, reduced leakage in products out of the common European market, and so on. And so with that. Yeah, so over the next couple of months, the report is kind of one of the core elements that we look at, and then conclude our foundations, technical and content for the BatteryPass port, and then support also the overall DPP success story, hopefully, and are also happy to help companies that are affected to move forward and understand and interpret the requirements. And with that, back over to you.